All right, friends, today's guest is the embodiment of unapologetic courage, creative rebellion, and the fierce feminine fire. Marta Czajkowska is not just a powerhouse, she's the founder of Masters of Badassery, a movement that's redefining what it means for women to own their story, speak their truth, and show up with unshakable boldness in every area of life. From her roots as a visual storyteller and an adventure seeker to building a global sisterhood that champions wild dreams and unapologetic ambition, Marta walks her talk and then some. If you've ever felt the pull to step into your power, question the rules, and build your life on your own darn terms, this conversation is your permission slip. So let's get into it. Marta, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Your introduction is really, really beautiful.
Oh, well, you're a powerhouse female, and we need to share that power with all of our listeners today. So thank you. At what point in your life did you realize, I can't stop living this way? And you decided to build Masters of Badassery.
Yeah, I mean it's never that fast, right? We in the movies it looks like that one moment, probably on top of the mountain. But for me, it's always a progression, and but I do remember a very specific moment. I had been, I've been literally hanging on the side of the mountain for 20 years at that point. And I found myself, I had this online job that I was doing. It was easy. And I would just travel the world and climb. And I was in Tasmania, literally edge of the world. And I was there for 3 months. And I remember kind of middle of the trip thinking, it's kind of boring. I'm kind of bored here. And then I kind of had this reality check going, okay, if this is boring, then I need to be changing something. This is like, if this is boring to me, then I am not playing the game that I need to be playing. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that that life that I had created had to change for me to find true fulfillment.
Yeah. And I like how you say it isn't this aha moment. It's an accumulation of moments, if you look back, that are kind of redirects. And then finally they accumulate enough for you to be like, okay, I see this isn't working. It's time to make a shift. Do you feel like it happens for all of us where it's a breakdown that kind of breaks us open?
Mm. I want to say no, but I've never seen anyone that hasn't changed because they were just so tired of their shit,
Yes.
And by shit, I mean all the protections that we put in front of us to protect us from taking risks that create this feeling of safety that really is a feeling of stagnation. So I think the breakdown has to happen. Of course, I think the way this happens is the universe will whisper to us. And if you listen, you might not have to go all the way down and crash downhill. But if we don't listen, and many of us don't, because of whatever reasons, it will start broadcasting louder and louder.
Yeah, or if you're Jenn Drummond, you'll have a horrific car crash on a huge highway because that's the only way it's going to wake you up and say, listen, girl, we've been shaking you for years now. This is enough, right? I mean, it's bananas.
It's a beautiful story, yours, of you then listening, right? You did listen, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I'm here. I got the message, understand the assignment, working on it now. Thank you very much. So when you had this transition, like it's nerve-wracking, right? It's like expanding into a new space. When doubts always show up, how did you silence them or walk with them, or what did you do to navigate that time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in that time, I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. It's a funny story, but I had a therapist, and I met with her, and I was telling her, I don't know what I was saying to her, and she said, well, congratulations. What I'm hearing is that you're finally ready to step into a life purpose of serving people and guiding them and being this, doing this therapeutic work. And I promise you that if I wasn't a people pleaser like I was at the time, I would have slammed the door in her face. I would have been like, I'm out of here. Who are you, lady, to be giving me hope that I can be someone that can bring service to the world? And so, but I was a people pleaser, so I just kind of kindly smiled and said, fuck you underneath. um, but so that was the seed. And then from the seed, it took another couple years for me to grow into making that transition.
Yeah. And I think it's important to highlight, like, the seed doesn't always turn into a flower the next day, right? It's like that little nudge that starts to have things click into gear. I know for me, when I'm like, okay, I'm going to climb a mountain, which seemed reasonable. And then I was going to climb Everest, which felt like a bit of a stretch, if I had to be honest. And then when I said, yeah, those 7-second summits. Okay. And I promise you that the only reason why I was able to go forward with that pursuit is because when I told my kids, they each claimed a mountain immediately. Right. So, like, all of a sudden it was real because it was outside of myself and somebody else was like holding on to it and counting on it and looking at me like, you're going to climb my mountain. Right. And so because of that, it was like, I'm doing this, like, I'm in, and I just have to put every step forward into making it real. So I think different people have different ways of bringing their pursuits to life. For me, the universe knew I needed accountability. And so once I had accountability, it was like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Mm. I mean, in some ways, you created that system for yourself, right? Because you spoke that out loud. I was talking to this girl that's in my authors group. I'm writing a book, and there's this little group, and she said, I haven't told my husband yet. Every time he leaves the house, I pull out my writing stuff. So, right. So for so many of us, we are afraid to create that accountability. And I love your story because it shows, like, if you sit down and think of how do I help myself? What is the system that I can create to help myself do this thing? Now you're thinking towards actually doing it, as opposed to thinking about excuses.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't I do this? Which is most of our automatic thinking.
Right. And I love this story that you just shared about this lady in your authors group. Like, I told my kids before I told my mom, right? And we didn't tell my mom for a while because I needed to have more confidence in myself. I needed to prove myself a little bit more because my kids were young enough to be, my mom can do anything, right? Just kind of like your authors group as a safe space for her to explore this so that when she builds her confidence and says, hey, I've been writing this book, no matter what her husband's response is, she's able to absorb it. Right. And so I think a lot of us have these ideas and we have to be very cautious of who we share them with and how to make sure we're not subconsciously sabotaging our pursuit. Because if I would have told my mom first, done, not happening. Right. And I'm like proud of myself for not doing that. And so anybody that's listening today, like, if you have something that you're pursuing or interested in, like, pay attention to how you feel and who you're sharing. And do you need like a mentorship group? Like, I had a hiking team and coaches and stuff that I worked with before I shared it bigger, because that's what I knew would set myself up for success. And like you said, we know what we need. We get to create that.
Yeah, I mean, such great advice. The thing to watch out for is other people's fears, right? Because people are not going to speak. If you share, I'm writing a book, they're not going to speak really what's best for you. They're going to often speak to their own fear, right? And especially when we talk about the mountains, people have a lot of fears about all this stuff. And so it's, or minimally, if you want to share, be prepared that they might share their fear and it's theirs. And it's like, okay, mom, I see that you're afraid.
Yeah.
And I'm not, or I am, but I'm doing it anyway, or whatever.
Yeah, no. And it's funny because story is so important. And one of the things I realize, like, when people are scared to go into the woods or to hiking or things like that, you look back at the books they read, right? Little Red Riding Hood. gets like in a house with bears. Okay. You have Hansel and Gretel that they think they're eating this candy and then like everything falls apart. Right. So it's interesting I look at those stories. I'm like, oh my gosh, why would we keep people out of the wilderness? Where was a story that was happy going on an adventure out there? Right. And you look at those stories, you can giggle about them, but do you have the space to look at your own and can you giggle at those?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Mm.
Okay, so what does badassery mean to you? And what do you think some of the biggest misconceptions are about it?
Yeah, I think that when people hear badassery, it's about domination and conquering and stuff like that. And this couldn't be farthest for how I see it. I think true badassery is being in self-alignment, really, and being fiercely in self-alignment, being fiercely committed to what's coming through us, and having and working towards sharing that with the world. We all have something, hands down. So to me, that's what I coach my clients on, right? And sometimes it's not yet visible, and that doesn't matter, because if we listen, it will show up. What is that thing that feels true to us that we care about? And that's all. All we need to do is listen, and then create commitment around this. And I can talk about commitment all day, but in short, to me, that really helps. The other day, my client was hiking. We were on the call, and she says, well, I was hiking this morning, and I really thought, I can't be a badass. He's like, today I really felt like I can't be a badass. And it made me reflect, like, we don't have to feel powerful to be powerful. We can feel vulnerable. We can feel tired. We can feel all the things, but it's really the commitment to ourselves that's going to bring us the results, because we don't have to show up 100% on every day. Right.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, I like that. Do you have any exercises or anything you do with clients to help them learn how to listen to themselves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's beautiful exercises that are nature based, and in short, I'll just describe one. You can take a half an hour out of your day alone. I really like to tell people to pass a threshold. So let's say getting out of your car is a threshold into a different way of listening. Okay, now I'm stepping into a different listening. And then just walking around with somewhere, preferably when there's not too many people, and just dissolving your focus and listening to what the environment is telling you. And almost always you're going to get what you need, because what it is that you are opening, you're letting go of your thought, your cognitive mind, and you're starting to be open to the messages from the universe. And so you can go there and talk to the trees, or you don't have to talk, you can just listen. When a thought about your day comes in, such as, what am I going to have for dinner? You can just gently say, no, this is my 30-minute threshold walk. I'm not dealing with this. I'm just listening to what's coming in, and inevitably something will come. Even if you do it for 2 minutes, something will come. I promise you. It always does. And it's usually surprising. You'll be like, whoa, where did it come from? Well, it came from you. You just hadn't been listening before. And then come back to your car, close the door. You're back to your normal life. Go ahead and think about all the things.
Yeah, I love the threshold piece. Like when we went to Japan to travel, they have all the red gates that you go through. And that's the whole concept, right? When you walk through this gate, then you're on this side and you get to open a new door to yourself and blah, 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 blah. And it's just a fun exercise when you can pause and be like, okay, when I walk in this house, before I see all my kids, like, here's the energy I'm going to bring, here's the intention I'm going to set, and then allow that to be lived out.
Oh yeah, I love that, the intention, right? The hardest part in that is remembering.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, and then I see somebody doing something they're not supposed to, and the intention is lost. But I have the chance to come back to that, so I just have to give myself a little bit of grace. for sure.
Mm,
There's an intuitive that I just adore. Her name is Peggy Romito. And one of the things that she taught me early on when I was learning to pay attention to myself better was to close your eyes and say, like, my name is Jen, and like feel that in your body, and then say, my name is Joe, which I know isn't right. And then feel
mm,
that in your body. And
all
so
right.
then you can start to learn where your yeses live and where your
Mm-hmm.
nos live. So that when you're in environments, you're like, okay, is that me or is that a no? And that's like a simple exercise I taught all my kids. Like when
Mm.
I say your name, where do you feel that? How do you know? What's that feeling? When I say somebody else's name, oh, I'm wrong. How does that show up for you? So you know how to navigate things for yourself.
I love that. And it's so simple, right? And
Oh,
such a
yeah.
beautiful thing to learn. I honestly, because I grew up so externally referenced to like please my parents, I have to, when I have to make a decision, I need to leave the room. So I will be like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And so that I can be there and feel what I feel, because in the moment, I can mostly feel other people's feelings.
Yeah. And that's so awesome that you know that about yourself, right? You can be like, oh, okay, I can feel this room. I'm super empathetic. I need to separate and know what's mine and what's the room's so that I'm operating from my authentic self. And however that permission looks like, right? I have to go to the bathroom, like whatever, it works.
Right.
Make
Yeah,
it work for
it
you.
really does. It really, since I learned that, my life has gotten so much better.
These simple things that really make dramatic changes, 100%. So if somebody's listening today and they just don't feel badass like your client, what's a move that they can make to start to reclaim their power?
Mm. Yeah, I think this is the hardest part in this whole thing, is that moment. It's like the pivot, right? It's like I feel like the world wants me to do all this and this and this, and I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses, or I'm trying to maintain this external thing, or whatever it is. But deep down, you know that you are in misalignment.
Mhm.
Um, that's a pretty uncomfortable place. And all I have to say, so, because I've been there, we've all been there, we've all been there, is that um, the moment you decide to look at the uncomfortable thing that you've been avoiding, to actually look at it, you don't have to change it, you don't have to deal with it, but just start looking. You're going to start feeling your own power, because now you don't have all the things that are draining you and keeping you from feeling like you can have your own back, right? In other words, deciding to come into integrity with oneself is always, always, always going to produce feelings of alignment and therefore power.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of the biggest lessons I took away from my car accident, like before the accident, there was so much right and wrong in my world, right?
Mm,
I mean, there's
mhm,
just so much of it. Like you need to
mm,
get good grades, or you need to behave this way, or you need to do whatever. And I remember after the accident, like everything was magical for a while because I was just so grateful to be alive that when my kids were fighting, the Jen before the accident would have tried to break it up and be like, stop fighting with your sibling and blah, 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 blah. The Jen after the accident just sat there and was like, isn't it amazing that I have two kids that have such conviction about their thought that they're doing everything in their power to get their sibling to feel the same way because they love them so much and they want to be on the
mm,
same team as their
mm,
sibling, right? And it just gave me this entirely different perspective that now I feel like I'm always in my power because I'm
mm,
human. And if I'm crying and miserable, like how lucky am I to have that experience and be able
mm,
to hold it? And when I'm
yeah.
celebrating and excited, like how lucky am I to have the human experience and be able to hold this level of excitement or this level of sadness or this level of frustration?
Mm,
And when you
mm.
realize like we're humans with these big emotions, and if you get to experience those, it's actually a gift.
Oh my God, I love that. And you are really selling the near death experience, by the way. That people
Oh,
are
you
going
know
like, I'm
what?
gonna get in the biggest car crash. I want to be like Jen.
Oh no, you want to wake up before that, I promise. But and into that thought is like that car accident, I created it as a line in the sand. I could have had it be a
Yeah.
jail that kept me in my house, or I was afraid to drive again. And oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But I chose to say, wow, I get to rewrite the narrative now. What do
Mhm.
I get to write? So I get to live the best life ever and start leaning into that.
And honestly, I want to answer your first question. What really, really make me snap out is when I had my near-death experience as well. Because I had a climbing accident where I fell and we were like deep in Mexico, like there was no hospital for hours. And so I had a long, long trip to the hospital where I didn't know if I'm gonna be okay, if I'm gonna have the life I had. And it was the best freaking 12 hours of my life because, or 16 hours of my life, because I really sat there going, if if I was to get my body to be healthy, how do I want to live my life? Like, what is it really that I want to do if my body's going to be healthy? From this accident, and that really, that from then on, like I was like, just like what you're saying, I decided I know what I'm choosing, right? But that was a hard moment for me of like facing all the places that I wasn't living. Like I was half-ass living. I was like in this relationship I was done with. I was many, many places in my life I was half-assing it.
Yeah. No, I know these things like open us up to new ways. So, yeah. Well, your new, like your brand is unapologetic and magnetic. How did you find your voice and what did you have to let go of to fully embrace it?
Hmm. I I feel like the reason why the brand is so um captivating is because it's really an expression of me. I really decided that everything about me is right
Oof.
and that I am going to lead with that. And that doesn't mean that if I am late that I don't clean up on it. I do. I do uh, take responsibility for the times I behave in ways that aren't blah, blah, blah. But that's not about it. It's about a deep decision that I have my own back. And if I act from that place, then what I deliver will be of value.
Mhm.
And my intention is to help. My intention is to make a world a better place. My intention is to empower people, right? So my intention is not to make $1 million and whatever, get a sports car, right? Which I might get. That's neutral, right? So I think that authenticity is what comes through.
Mhm.
And we all have a bullshit meter. We all can feel when something is resonant and truthful. And this is why Masters of Badassery is being successful in the world. Um, Something I really needed to let go of, and that's a wonderful question because we think we want, like most of the time when we want to create something, we think we need to gain something. But truthfully, and I'm learning this over and over and over, but the self-doubting, the self-minimizing, the the automatic thoughts that come in, like I was born in the wrong country and I was blah blah blah, oh I don't have the body, whatever the thoughts are, um at some point in the day, I need to let go of them in order to do the big thing I want to do, right? And these thoughts will come no matter who you are. I don't think anyone is really, gotten rid of them, but it's like, what do we do with these thoughts, right? And for me, it's always coming back to self-love, deciding that I have my own back.
Yeah, I love that word deciding. And like for those of us that are listening, because I'm like, yes, yes, yes to everything you're saying. And something that worked for me, I'm a people pleaser too. Like I don't like arguments. I don't like confrontation. I just love peace, happiness, and butterflies. But that's not reality, right? And so for me, I used to like I had to start with 10 minutes of every hour. I had to tell the truth no matter what. Okay. And like my mom called one time during these 10 minutes. I'm like, I'm not answering this call. Like, I'm like, well, that's defeating the purpose of this exercise, Jennifer. Like, this is the conversation I'm having in my head. I'm like, I have to take this call. And so I take the call and I'm like, gosh, I just hope we can small talk until this 10 minutes is gone because I know she's going to ask me something. And of course she asked me like, hey, are you coming home for Thanksgiving? I wasn't coming home for Thanksgiving. Like I knew that 6 months before that we weren't coming home for Thanksgiving. It's a hard time to travel. I have 7 kids. Like there was just 100 things that were going against me, but I didn't want to tell her. So I kept pushing off. I'm like, oh, we'll see. We're going to check what the calendars are doing, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, she asked me during this time frame. I'm like sweating. I don't want to say it. I just am like resisting. And I'm like, you know what, Mom? We're not. And I'm sorry. And I know that's hard for you to hear because it's hard for me to say, but it's just not going to work out this year. And it wasn't like, oh yeah, you're okay, honey. I mean, she was disappointed and I felt bad that I let her down, but we survived it and the relationship's still okay. And I actually got proud of myself for finally saying it. And then the truth is, I'm like, man, that took up a lot of space in my brain that now all of a sudden is free to be able to use for things that it should be working on. Right. And so like sometimes you just have to put like funny little rules in place that get you used to doing the thing. And then the 10 minutes becomes 20 and the 20 becomes 30. And yeah, I mean, that's how it's kind of worked for me.
I love gamifying that, right? Because it makes it funny. It's like, what time is it? Do I need to tell the truth? and that always, then you can start having fun with this because it is difficult. It is difficult because in this moment, what you're really doing is taking a risk that your mom will not love you. And we know, our adult mind knows that it's not true, but that's how it feels. And that's why you're afraid of saying it, right? So these things are super real and minimizing them doesn't help, obviously, right? But being scared and doing it anyway, right? Which is what you did. And how cool.
Yeah.
That way we can build authentic relationships, right?
100%. And when it goes back to like those sad feelings or those yucky emotions or whatever else like that, like if you give them time in your day, you can say like, okay, every 5 minutes of every hour, I can be a pouty pants, whatever you want to call it. But then after those 5 minutes, you snap out of it and you get into momentum of things that are doing well and going well. And when those yucky feelings come up again, you're like, oh, I'm allowed to feel those, but only 5 minutes an hour. So you got to sit on the sideline and you can come back into play when those 5 minutes show up. And for me, like just being able to frame and put boundaries around those things, it didn't deny them. It didn't mean I didn't feel them. It didn't mean I didn't honor them. It just meant they didn't control my entire day.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So for women who are listening or men who still shrink themselves to be liked, accepted, and play it safe, what kind of advice do you have for them?
The biggest hurdle is awareness that we're doing it because often we don't know. But if you do notice that you're doing it, I only have one advice, which is drop it. Like stop doing the thing. It will that because we all know that the real anything that's of real value in our life doesn't need us to shrink. Right. So when we shrink ourselves, we're acting out of our trauma. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying like we all have the trauma. And so in these moments, what I try to do is to pattern interrupt. So maybe I'm writing an email and I'm finding myself that I'm shrinking. Stop it. Drop it. Literally drop it. Go do something else. Come back when you feel differently. Right. And then you can do it differently. The women have a lot of trauma and around this about powerful males because of our history of being second level citizens and being oppressed. And so we carry that trauma in us. Even if you didn't have it in your life, this life, you carry in the DNA all of that trauma. So I have not met a woman that didn't have a problem with that. I have met women that overcame it, but it wasn't for the lack of it showing up in the world. And what I love what you said about your kids, and like for all the parents listening out there, do it for your kids, because the more you do it, the less your kids are going to have to do it, or whatever. I said it wrong, but you know what I mean.
And you're not giving it to them to clear, right? And if you
Exactly.
demonstrate, then you help. Like I know that's one of the big things that kept me motivated in doing these climbs. Is like, I'm living my dream. I need to show my kids that people live their dreams so that they get excited about their future. They want to plan. They want to do the hard work. Because if I'm doing all the hard work and I'm grumpy and miserable and upset, like that's not enticing. Like, why would I do that if it leads to this? Right. So I knew like I'm demonstrating what this looks like. And if I don't show them a life that I'm thrilled to wake up to, then how do they know what that looks like for themselves?
Yeah, they have no idea. Yeah. That's really beautiful.
What's one rule you think every woman needs to question?
That we have to earn our worth.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I see this so much, and men struggle with that too. Definitely. But the worth needs to be gained. You know, I believe each of us has been born perfect, and nothing's ever changed it. We have developed ways of protecting ourselves from the world that are distortions, really, of the way how we see ourselves. And we sometimes mistake that for who we are, but that's not who we are, right? I'm not a people pleaser. I'm Marta. And I learned as a kid to keep peace in the family, right? And sometimes it doesn't serve me anymore. I can stop engaging in it. I can go to the bathroom and think about what I want, right? And so if there's any mantra, you know, that can help you with that, for me, it's that I have inherent worth. That's it. Like who I am is perfect. It's enough. Yeah, I can work on things, and I do. But I don't have to earn anything. I'm already there.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I'll tell you, I struggle with that too. And how I know I struggle with it, and I still struggle with it to this day, is that it is so easy for me to be a human doing. But when you ask me to be a human being, like, oh my goodness. So I was working with somebody and they're like, okay, listen, Jen, you're just going to have to learn. I want you to sit in this chair every single day, look outside, drink your tea, and for 30 minutes, just sit. And like the entire 30 minutes in the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm being lazy. Oh, maybe I should use this to make my to-do list. Like, how do I make this productive? Like, that's what's going through my mind. And so when I went back to my next appointment, she's like, you failed the assignment. Okay. Like, this is what you're supposed, and it took me months, friends, like months to be able to sit in that chair for 30 minutes and learn how to be okay with it, and then learn how to appreciate it, and then learn how to be with it and be like, I'm still as loved doing here nothing as I am climbing to the top of a mountain.
And everybody, this is real badassery, right? Jen decided that she's going to stick to it for months, right?
Months.
You knew something was in there for you. Otherwise you wouldn't have done it, right? You saw that it's hard and you committed, and what, rain or shine, in your chair.
I felt like I was in the naughty chair. I'm like, what? Like, and your brain makes these things up too, right? Like, it's so hilarious what your brain will do to try to get you out of this uncomfortable moment instead of just sit in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's crazy.
Yeah. Beautiful exercise, because whatever it's telling you, that's where you have a hard time loving yourself. Yeah. Right. And then that's where and this is just research. Oh, now I get to figure out how to love myself right here. Try it.
Yeah. And it's like, if I haven't done it in a while, like it isn't a one and done, hey, I had this aha moment and I figure it out. Like if I'm like all of a sudden get into that rat race of being busy and everything else like that, it can take me a few weeks to sit in that chair for 30 minutes and be okay again. So anybody who's listening, you don't just arrive. Like you have to like somehow set up base camp there, and it is not easy to do. So there you go.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you're saying this. Like, it's not. You're not done. It's a spiral. It's a circle. Like, it's a circle, but it's a spiral. Like, it does get easier,
Yeah,
as we do it. But we get to fall back on it, right? You get
yeah,
to fall back on it. Yeah.
definitely, definitely. So, how do you keep yourself in power when life throws curveballs?
Mhm. Yeah. Uh, Curveballs happen all the time. Right? Like really, really daily. Like my mom came to visit from Poland and she broke her leg day one of her trip, right? Little things that, or big things, we always going to be um, having to fall back on our practices. And for me, the way I look at it is what state am I in? Right. And to me, there's two nervous system states: open state, closed state.
Yeah,
Am I
yeah, yeah,
open? Am I closed? Right. If I'm closed, I'm done. I got to stop and figure out how to get my nervous system to an open state. And that's going to be different for everybody. For you, it might be sitting in the chair. For me, there's many, many ways. I aim to have 10,000 ways to keep my nervous system open. If I have one way, that's called addiction.
yeah. Yes, amen.
Oh yeah, Merlot.
Oh yes, I am running again. Man, running's healthy though, isn't it? Like this can't be a bad thing.
Right, that's exactly, you nailed it, right? It could look healthy. Like like someone I know has a reading addiction. It looks good. Well, she reads a lot.
Right, 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 right,
Right?
right.
So many ways that I get my nervous system to open. Sometimes it might look like I have a morning routine where I read this book called The Way of Mastery, which has me aligning with my bigger self and me being the universe. I have my personal document, affirmation of who I am, um, playing with my dog, going rock climbing, um, watching a movie. There's many, 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 many ways that I can get myself there. But for me, um, the number one priority for me in my life is my nervous system. And when I take care of that, I find myself to be incredibly effective in everything I do.
Yeah, no, I think that, and it's so funny how it shows up differently for all of us, right?
Right.
I had to do, and we talked about this earlier, like I had to do trigger meditations. So, trigger meditation for me is like every single time I touch a doorknob, I take 3 deep breaths and I ask, like, I just check in during those breaths, like, am I on autopilot or am I intentional? Like, how's my energy right now? And it just gave me that pause because I like am high energy. I love to sprint. I love to move. I love all of that. But like it's truly being able to do that push pause. And so for me, those little doorknobs are like, okay, pause for a second, Jen. Slow the roll. Be present. Who are you? Are you doing what you want to do? Are you running from something? Are you running to something? Are you being? And man, that tiny exercise, game changer. Like game
Mm.
changer.
I love that, anchoring into something that you're already doing, right?
Yeah.
It can be incredibly helpful, and everybody's going to develop their way, right? So there's no right or wrong way to do this. Jen's idea is great. And someone might want to meditate for 2 hours. I don't know. Like
Right.
they are all good as long as you are solving for that thing of your nervous system to be open and present, right? And I just want to say one more thing to this. What you said is like there's nothing wrong with being on like you are and all that stuff. It's just that strength overused is a weakness, right? So if you start doing this always and all the time, now we're a bit in trouble, right?
Yeah. No, I did that book, The Artist Way. I like recommend it to everybody because it has these exercises that you do you journal every day. And then you do a date with yourself every week. And then it has these like little things that are special. And one of the weeks is you're not allowed, and maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but you're not allowed to have input. So no television, no books, no podcasts, no like whatever. And I used to think I was so cool because I didn't watch TV. I was like just as bad as anybody that's watching TV. The fact that it came in a book made me no better than anybody else, but I told myself I was. And when I couldn't read for a week, I was like, oh man, I hide in reading. Like, do I ever?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge eye opener. And I do that program once a year just to recalibrate my system and catch myself being sneaky because we're
Mm-hmm.
sneaky. We're
Oh
sneaky
yeah.
little
Oh
critters.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, totally. I love that beautiful commitment. I love that book too. It's incredible.
It is. It's
Mm.
so good. Okay, so if you could pass just one badass lesson to the next generation, what would it be and why?
Uh, don't wait for permission from anyone. We waste our life. I know so many lives that were spent waiting for that permission to whatever it is that you want. Give yourself that permission and decide that you already have whatever it takes. And of course, you might have to acquire some skills on the way.
Right. Right.
But if that's fine, but if you're waiting for permission, you might be waiting forever because um, nobody can truly give that to you. Only we can give that to ourselves.
Yeah. And we have to give it to ourselves. Like I remember this is how I knew I needed to give myself permission to start something. And it sometimes looks like this for those of us that are listening is somebody else started doing something. I'm like, well, who does she think she is? Like, how is she capable of doing that? She hasn't done blah, 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 blah. So it manifests as me poking on somebody else doing the exact same thing I should be doing. So if that shows up in your life, throw on a mirror and start getting to work, girl, because it's time.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that, right? Or my story where my therapist said, "You're ready," and I was like, "Who are you to give me hope?" I got permission. Guess what? I
You're
didn't
like, you
listen
keep that
either.
ticket. I don't want to go to that concert.
My favorite tool for that is when I work with my clients. I said instead of like when you find yourself going, "Who is she?" or whatever, or "I want that," I just say, "Add to cart." Just add it to your universal cart.
Yeah, that works really well for me. If you saw my shoe collection, you know I'm very good at adding to carts. So I should just do that in
Perfect.
other places of my life. Perfect. Oh my gosh. This episode has been so much fun. I absolutely adore you and your mission. And you're right. Your authenticity and how you lead, it's magnetic, it's unapologetic, and so grateful you shared it with us today. How does this audience get more of you?
Thank you, Jen. Truly, I feel so much alignment and connection in what you do and the mission that we're both on. So it's really fun to be mirrored back by
Yeah,
you and your,
answering. Yes, totally.
yeah, the questions were so thoughtful. Like I really felt seen by you. So that's really valuable to me.
Yeah.
Couple things. I am writing my book. I'm very excited about this project, and the book will be out this September.
Okay.
It will be called Masters of Badassery, Route to Rise to Claim Your Freedom. And so that will be coming out. Meanwhile, I have a women's group. The group is called Bold and Free. And it's a free group for women that are ready to step into their next chapter in their life. So if you're a woman and you want to do something, you don't know how to start, you don't know what to do next, I have a community that will provide the encouragement and the tools and the skills for you to step into it. I love my community. We have amazing women in there. And it's open. And the other thing I do is I take people into the wilderness, and it all starts with a threshold trip where people come and I take them 3 to 5 days into whatever adventure feels like would crack something open in them and help them get into past that threshold into living from the authentic self.
Amazing. Amazing. So Instagram handle, website, give us that information.
Yeah, mastersofbadassery.com, and the same on Instagram, masters_of_badassery. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Marta. We really appreciate your time. We're looking forward to supporting you. And you guys check out this group. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
Thank you, Jen. It's been amazing to talk to you.